building the some of data product, it can be used by people who are data scientists. Okay. Okay. So from one data, you can take the insights from the many data sets. That is example. Okay. So you have to learn about the computer languages. And then another qualification for data scientists, it is experience working with and creating data architectures. Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. All right, let's start our webinar series, Introduction to Careers A to Z. For this week, it is about the letter D, so data scientist. So inshallah, we are going to describe about this career, data scientist, in 30 minutes. I hope that it will not be boring for you for this career. It is the most popular career in the technology or in the computer majors. All right, so for the data scientist, before we describe and then look at the more information from the data scientist, I would like you to write in the chat features, what do you know about the data scientist? All right, so let me write in the chat box. You can write what is data scientist. So what is it about, the data scientist? Okay, maybe you have heard before about the data scientist. Is it about the biology? Is it about the physics? Is it about the computer? Or is it related with engineering? Or is it with the language, the English? What do you know about the data scientist? So if someone's told you there is this career, it is called data scientist. So are you curious to know what is data scientist? Okay, please write in the chat box what do you know about the data scientist. Okay, so let's give 1 minute for you to complete the answer. Okay, so some of participants, they have written as the computer here for the data scientist, and then there is the math. It is related with the engineering. Yes, it is related with the computer and also with the math. And a participant wrote about the statistic. Yes, it is also related with the statistic. Okay, this is with the laboratory. Is it? Okay, so it is still a laboratory, but it is a little bit about the computer laboratory. It is not the science laboratory for the experiments, but they also do the analysis process by using the data. So it is like the experiment also to gather the data. Okay, thank you for your participation. So for the data scientist, it is let's see the quote for the career from the career counselor. It is the best job title of the 21st century. So because we have to understand about the data science, it is really important for this century. Yeah, it is said that the data scientist, it is the best job title of the 21st century. So it is in such a high demand position in these days. So it is because there is the massive explosion in the bulk of the data generated and retained by the companies. So the companies have a lot of data, so it is become more complex and impossible to analyze by using the previous statistical tools. So they need some measurements, some tools to process this data. So this also called as the big data. It is like a pile of the number that we would like to build something with it. So they will process this data. So because of there is the explosion of this data, the job of data scientist is required. Okay, so we discuss about the explanation of the data scientist. Maybe we can watch a video. It is from YouTube and in Bahasa Indonesia. So it is about the salary of the data scientist. I mean, it can become the motivation, right? So if you want to get the salary, maybe, so how many salary is for this job? So it could be one of the consideration when you are choosing a job. Maybe you are thinking about the prospect how about the salary and so on. Okay, so let's watch this video.
Umur aku 24 tahun, kerja di online travel startup sebagai data analis. Gaji aku 8 juta per bulan.
Usia saya 25 tahun, saya bekerja di health tech startup. Saya bekerja sebagai machine learning engineer dan gaji saya 9 juta per bulan.
Umur gue 27 tahun, gue kerja di fintech peer-to-peer lending sebagai data scientist. Gaji gue 10 juta per bulan.
Umur gue 25 tahun, gue kerja di digital service company sebagai data scientist dengan gaji 7,5 juta per bulan.
Umur gue 27 tahun, gue bekerja di tech company sebagai junior data analis, gaji gue 10 juta.
Umur saya 30 tahun, saya bekerja di salah satu marketplace finansial sebagai lead data scientist. Gaji saya saat ini 57,5 juta per bulannya.
Okay, so it is only the research from a source. So it is it can be changed the results of this the salary. It means it's only for as the extra motivation maybe to choose this career, because it is a developing career for the data scientist, and it is in high demanded for this job position. So I think that in the future, in the technical industries, and also for the many things that in the computer companies, so this career or the prospect of this job is really good. Okay, so then let's continue about our topic here. So there is the data scientist, the popular guy in this career. His name is Dr. DJ Patil. So he is the U.S. Chief Data Scientist at the White House in USA, and it is also the Deputy Chief Technology Officer for Data Policy and Chief Data Scientist in the Office of Science and Technology Policy. So Dr. Patil is the one who coined the term big data. So he has been associated with the LinkedIn, Relate IQ, Skype, PayPal, Greylock Partners, eBay in the past. So he also held the crucial and important position at the Department of Defense, United States. So for the data scientist, it's also required in the environmental sectors, like in the Department of Defense. Okay, so this also know more about the computers, so can master about it, so that it can be the data scientist. All right, so for today we are going to cover in 30 minutes. We are going to discuss about these three outlines. The first one about this career, what they do, the data scientist, and description of this career. And then the second one about the qualification. So what are the requirements for to be a data scientist? And then the third one, it is about the how to become one. It means that the education. Of course, that you are preparing right now, and you are studying from the junior high school and then the senior high school. After that, you are going to study in the university. So you can prepare in which college major you have to choose to be a data scientist. Okay, so we also provide the webinar about this one. It is introduction to the college major. It is normally on the Saturday this week. I hope that you can also join this webinar to get the insight of these many careers, especially in this engineering sector and in the computer. All right, so let's see a video about the explanation of the data scientist in 5 minutes. I hope that it can give the insight about what is data science. because before we know about the data scientist, you have to know a little bit about the data science. Okay, let me resume the video. All right.
Many who dreams of becoming a data scientist, keep watching about data science, because we will tell you how does it really work under the hood. Emma is a data scientist. Let's see how a day in her life goes while she's working on a data science project. Well, it is very important to understand the business problem first. In our meeting with the clients, Emma asks relevant questions, understands and defines objectives for the problem that needs to be tackled. She is a curious soul who asks a lot of whys, one of the many traits of a good data scientist. Now, she gears up for data acquisition to gather and scrape data from multiple sources like web servers, logs, databases, APIs, and online repositories. Oh, it seems like finding the right data takes both time and effort. After the data is gathered comes data preparation. This step involves data cleaning and data transformation. Data cleaning is the most time-consuming process as it involves handling many complex scenarios. Here, Emma deals with inconsistent data types, misspelled attributes, missing values, duplicate values, and whatnot. Then, in data transformation, she modifies the data based on defined mapping rules. In a project, ETL tools like Talent and Informatica are used to perform complex transformations that helps the team to understand the data structure better. Then understanding what you actually can do with your data is very crucial. For that, Emma does exploratory data analysis. With the help of EDA, she defines and refines the selection of feature variables that will be used in the model development. But what if Emma skips this step? She might end up choosing the wrong variables, which will produce an inaccurate model. Thus, exploratory data analysis becomes the most important step. Now, she proceeds to the core activity of a data science project, which is data modeling. She repetitively applies diverse machine learning techniques like KNN, decision tree, naive Bayes to the data to identify the model that best fits the business requirement. She trains the models on the training dataset and tests them to select the best performing model. Emma prefers Python for modeling the data. However, it can also be done using R and SAS. Well, the trickiest part is not yet over: visualization and communication. Emma meets the clients again to communicate the business findings in a simple and effective manner to convince the stakeholders. She uses tools like Tableau, Power BI, and ClickView that can help her in creating powerful reports and dashboards. And then finally, she deploys and maintains the model. She tests the selected model in a pre-production environment before deploying it in the production environment, which is the best practice, right? After successfully deploying it, she uses reports and dashboards to get real-time analytics. Further, she also monitors and maintains the project's performance. Well, that's how Emma completes the data science project. We have seen the daily routine of a data scientist is a whole lot of fun, has a lot of interesting aspects, and comes with its own share of challenges. Now, let's see how data science is changing the world. Data science techniques along with genomic data provides a deeper understanding of genetic issues in reaction to particular drugs and diseases. Logistic companies like DHL, FedEx have discovered the best routes to ship, the best suited time to deliver, the best mode of transport to choose, thus leading to cost efficiency. With data science, it is possible to not only predict employee attrition, but to also understand the key variables that influence employee turnover. Also, the airline companies can now easily predict flight delay and notify the passengers beforehand to enhance their travel experience. Well, if you're wondering, there are various roles offered to a data scientist, like data analyst, machine learning engineer, deep learning engineer, data engineer, and of course, data scientist. The median base salaries of a data scientist can range from $95,000 to $165,000. So that was about the data science. Are you ready to be a data scientist?
All right, so it is about the introduction data science and how from if you are learning about data science, you can be a data scientist and also the data analyst and so on. I think this it is pretty interesting about this data science because it is developing and it is also in many sectors. Like in the video, it's told that like in the transporting the goods in the FedEx, for example. They also require the data scientists to obtain the data, for example, the time for the traffic, and then how to determine the routes, the effective or the efficient routes for the delivery, and so on. So for the data scientists, it's not only in the companies of the computer, but it's also in the other companies or other sectors. Okay. All right. So we will discuss about this one, about the qualification and so on, and how to become one to be. Okay. The first one, it is what they do, description of this career. So the first one, it is there is explanation from a textbook. It is from the Doing Data Science, first edition of the ONLC and such are. So it is written there that more generally, a data scientist is someone who knows how to extract meaning from and interpret data. So if there is a bulk of data, they can extract the meaning and interpret the data. And then which requires both tools and methods from statistics and machine learning, as well as being human. So imagine that in front of you there are so much data. It is in the digital data, but you cannot calculate or you cannot analyze the data by using the Microsoft Excel, for example, because it has many components and many factors. So you need to categorize the data. You clean the. You can present the data in other visualization, so that other than you, non-data scientists, they can also view the data. So it is important here. So this spends a lot of time, the process of collecting, cleaning, and also because the data has many components, so they have to make it in the structure. And then this process requires persistence, statistics, and software engineering skills. So if you want to be the data scientist, you have to be patient, persistent, and also you have to have the knowledge of the statistics, because it is about the data. And to process this data, you need the statistical tools or knowledge, and then also the software engineering skills. Okay. So one, it get the data into the shape. Another part of the exploratory data analysis combine visualization and data science. So it also need to so that other people can know what is this data, what is it about, what kind of information you get from this data. Okay. So next, for the data scientists. So overall, as the summary, for the data scientists, it is they do the following tasks. For example, this start with the number 0 because it takes longer time for the data cleaning, for sorting the data, and so on. After the number 1 is data analysis, and then number 2 modeling or statistics. So after there is the analysis of the data, it should be modeled or visualized, and so by using the statistic. And the third one is engineering or prototyping. So how can this data will be brought to the audience? So what can we do with this data? So it is the last part. Okay, so the first one, let's see, the consuming time, this data cleaning. So there is a lot of data. If we know from the computer, when we use something, when we get from the website and so on. Imagine that you have a website that many consumers log in or view your website. You need to obtain the data from this consumer, and there is the interaction within the consumer and the website. Maybe they want to buy something and they leave the comment and so on. So this kind of data, it is not easy to format them. Sometimes they are in disorders, of course, because they are large data. It's called as the big data. And this part of the data scientist job, it involves making sure that the data is nicely formatted and conforms to some set of rules. So this data can be used later on it can be for another analysis and so on. So the example here, are familiar with the CSV format, yeah. For example, each row of the CSV in the finances, it it states about the fast food franchise. So there might be the columns of the city, state, and number of the burgers sold in the last year. So this kind of the data have a lot of files, right? For this one, the number of burgers, the number of the city, which state of the city, and so on. So it is not need to be joined together. So to join the data together is not easy. So it's the hard part is to make the combination. After that, we'll present this data. For example, for the data cleaning, it is very time consuming, and then you need to fix them and making sure that they will be fixed automatically in the future. So you can present the data for the future, for the data analysis. Okay, data analysis, sort of work. Most people think of using Excel for example, for processing the data. But the data scientists, like I told you before, that will typically work with data set that are too large to open in the typical spreadsheet program like the Excel, for example. And it may even be too large to work with on a single computer. So it can be used for the many computers and with the good processor that to process the data. So the data analysis is the realm of the visualization. Okay, so the tables and the analysis of the data is for robots. So that is the program that help the data scientists. So the data scientists make lots of plots of the data to understand it, and then after that, through this process, data scientists trying to craft a story, maybe to find the information of the data, explaining the data in a way that will be easy to communicate, easy to act on. So if the data becomes simpler, it will be easy to be used for another, to build something, for example, to use this data, or it can be present to others. Okay, so here there's the example in the Facebook, for example, data scientists at Facebook, they figure out that having at least 10 friends, have guarantee that a user will stay active on the site. So in the Facebook, for example, they have to make sure by using the data, if some new user sign in or sign up to the Facebook, they must have at least 10 friends, so that it will keep them become the active user on the site. So that's it, the one simple example. Okay, so next is for the modeling and statistics. So once the data scientists get the clean data and an understanding of that data, data scientist generally wants to make predictions either from the that data or similar looking data that they will get in the future. So they will make the prediction. For example, for this data, it can be used for another analysis and so on. Okay, so for example, here is in the website. For example, is predicting how many visitors a website gets. Maybe you create a new website and you want to know how many visitors will visit your website in the next month. Okay, so to do this, you have to build the model. This is a modeling. This is called the model based on what you know about the traffic to individual websites. So you know about how the people interact with the web, and you will know about this. Okay, how many visitors will visit your website. This is one of the example. And then next is the engineering or prototyping. So as the name implies, that making something, right? Or prototyping. So it's building some sort of the data product. This data product can be used by people who aren't data scientists. Now, this is very important because if there is the data, if the data scientist cannot make it presentable or make it in the good visualization so that other people beside the data scientist can understand, it will be pointless. Okay, so they must make it in a good visualization, and then they can build up this data. It is more easier to process. Okay, so whether data scientist is building a full on application or just a proof of concept, it depends how much data is involved. So then in the early days of engineering, the project, making a project, for example, it utilizes large amounts of data, and it requires many tools and techniques to make a general programming. Okay, to make it easier, it requires the tools and techniques. All right, so that's for the what they do. And it's important here that building the some of data product, it can be used by people who are data scientists. Okay, so you have study about the statistics and also how by using some application and tools to build or to present the data in a good visualization. All right, so the second part is qualification. So if you have any question or something to share, you can type your answer or something that you want to share in the Q&A here. Okay, please also fill in the polling section because for the all participants, they will get you will get the e-certificate of attendance. Okay, the second one, qualification. So what are the requirements to be a data scientist? So to be a data scientist, the first one, you must have problem-solving skills with an emphasis on product development. So in many companies in the business sectors and so on, the employees required to have these skills, problem-solving, because it is related with the big data. So you have to be able to process the data. So you will not be give up after that if there are more data. So you have to have this skill, how to solve the problems. The second one is, of course, because you are dealing with about the data just from the computers, you have to, and you use the statistics or from the math, you have to understand the statistical computer languages. So if you study the computer science and of course the data science majors, you are going to study about these computer languages. So to manipulate the data, because it's not the same format, so it come across from different to be able to read the data. So it is also by using the computer languages. Okay, so from one data you can take the insights from the many data sets. For example, okay, so you have to learn about the computer languages. And then another qualification for data scientists, it is experience working with and creating data architectures. So building, you remember the process of the modeling and the prototyping. After that, the engineering. So they have to build the data. So it is called as the data architectures. Okay, so you have to experience with the creating the data architectures in your college major, for example, computer science. You are going to study about this data architecture. So you have to have the experience for this. And then qualification for the data scientist next is knowledge of advanced statistical. Yes, because the statistics that to learn in senior high school, it is the basic statistic in math lessons. But in the college or in the university, you are going to study the more advanced statistics methods and also tools that you can use to help for this analysis. For example, like regression, properties of distribution, statistical tests, and proper usage. For example, in my university years, I also studied the statistics. Even though my major was biology, biological science, there was also the this course for statistics, biological statistics. So in the biology, we are in science, we need the statistical knowledge. Okay, so you have to have this experience and with application, of course, how to use these statistical tools. Okay, next qualification. Yes, it is you have to be able to have good communication, because it is the job is in the you can have for the coordination across the teams, because to process the data, it's impossible to big data for only one person. So it is like a team that can manage from many sectors. So you have to be able to have the communication skills. Remember that I told you in each seminar that you have to have the 4C skills. Okay, so one of them is for the communication and also collaboration. How do you actively speak, and then after you deliver your ideas with your teammates. So it is very important. So in this school, in the junior high school and senior high school, please be ready, prepare yourself. You have to have to be able to have these communication skills. All right, so the last part is how to become one. So how to become a scientist? Yes, you can study because it is the new college major. So in the university in the world, it is a new one because many technology startup companies, they require for the data scientist. But unfortunately for the data scientist college major, it's not specific in Indonesia. But in for example, I will tell later on in BINUS, in University of Indonesia, for example, you can study in the computer science, and then in the IPB, for example, you can study in the master degree. So the education, it could be from the data science college major. So it is still developing this college major, still new. So you can find later on this data science in the future. It will be more. I'm sure about that. And then computer science. It is the popular college major. For example, in Universitas Indonesia, there's many students want to study about the computer science. Also, from the statistics, from the math department, it's also possible that they want to have the career in the data scientist. For example, many senior data scientists in Indonesia, they were graduated from mathematics department and also statistical math department. So, but if you want to study about the data science, it will be better, okay, to be the data scientist. You can be in many companies, like in the Gojek, and then in the there is a be in the Grab, and there is also many. Our alumni also, there are several from our schools that work as the data scientists. Okay, so the university education, like I told you before, there's only some universities like BINUS, and then UI, and then IPB, and then UGM. They also provide the master degree for the data science. If you want to study math or statistics in the undergrad program S1, and then you can degree in this data science. Jadi bisa S2 juga nantinya. Alright, so thank you very much for your participants. Our webinar series only takes 30 minutes to explain about this, to explore about the careers in the world. So we will upload this video also on the YouTube, so you can watch later on in our YouTube. Okay, so don't forget to follow our social media so that you can get latest information also for the next week webinars. Okay, please fill the form, evaluation form, by using this code bit.ly evaluation ITC, because your inputs, your evaluation is very important to improve our programs. So for our webinar is delivered in English because we are Fatih Bilingual School as the international school. There is also international students in Fatih Bilingual School. So we do in this webinar from the career counselor in English. Okay, all of you that has participated in this evaluation form, we will get this e-certificate of attendance. Jangan lupa diisi evaluation form, nanti akan mendapatkan akan dikirim ke email oleh career counselor, akan dikirim email tentang sertifikat. Oke, saya copy ke sini linknya, silahkan diisi. Okay, thank you very much. See you in the next webinar series of Introduction to Careers, and also in the next webinar series of Introduction to College Major from the Career Counseling Department of Fatih Bilingual School. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.